So you've got a story concept, but you're not quite sure what to do with your protagonist. Yeah, I don't know what their story could be. And your protagonist might feel a bit useless. Yeah, can you read my mind? Shh. Hello my fantastic writers, Joe here. Whether your protagonist is an adventurer exploring the lost cities of Atlantis or an accountant named Bob, in this video I'm going to show you how to write a story around your protagonist so that they can't feel pointless, because their story literally revolves around them. So how do we create a story around a protagonist? If you want to jump straight to the juicy stuff, the timestamp is on screen. However, this first part is kind of important to listen to get a general idea of what we're actually trying to do. We all know that the protagonist is, well, some of us know that the protagonist, probably all of us know that the protagonist is usually going through character growth, some sort of metamorphosis throughout the story. I've done loads of videos on that. In this video, we're going to find a story for your protagonist and we're going to push them into that story. Once they have been launched into that story, the rest of the story should come quite easily for you. What I'm about to tell you isn't a set in stone story structure that you must follow. You must follow it. It's just a very common story structure for many protagonists in many successful stories. I spent a lot of time on this because I want it to be the best video on YouTube for people who have a concept for a story but don't know how to think of a story for the character. So without further ado, let's get to it. The setup. At the start of the story, the protagonist usually has their usual life. They're doing their own thing, whether they're stuck in an office block or having dangerous adventures, slaying monsters. It's something that they're used to doing because that's their life now, whether they love it or hate it. This is the equivalent of Act 1. But then they find themselves being pulled out of their everyday life and pushed into a new situation, a new unexpected challenge. And I'm going to tell you how that happens. Something happens to them that changes their life. Let me say it clearly. If you have a story idea and also have a very vague idea for a protagonist, but you don't know what to do with them, here is what you must first think about. What is their life usually like? Boring, adventurous, dangerous? Then think of something that changes life as they know it forever. And it's usually the opposite of what they're used to, or twice as bad, or twice as extreme, for better or for worse. Perhaps they discover something that they didn't know that no one else knows. Perhaps they discover something about someone close to them. Perhaps they discover something that changes how they thought things happen behind the scenes of their everyday life. Perhaps something really good happens where they find out they're now able to do new things that they could never do before, nor anyone else could do. Perhaps something really bad happens to them, or someone that they know, like a tragedy. Whatever happens that changes their life forever, that's up to you to decide. When their life changes, they are now in situations that they've never dealt with before. Now we move into Act 2. They will usually realize soon after that whatever happened to them, it has happened to someone else in your story in a similar way. There's a reason for this, and I'll explain it in a minute. It doesn't have to be this way, but it's a good way to do it. If they perhaps discover something that they didn't know, that no one else knew, they'll realize that someone else has also discovered this secret. If perhaps they discover something that changes how they thought things happened behind the scenes of their everyday life, they'll realize that someone else has also discovered what happens behind the scenes too. Okay, Joe, I get the point. If perhaps something really good happens to them, yeah, Joe, I get it, where they find they're able to do new things that they could never do before, they'll realize that someone else can do things that no one else can do either. Alright, Joe, I get it. If perhaps a tragedy happens to them, Joe, it means that tragedy will have happened to someone else too. Sorry, what? I get it. Oh, sorry. The reason that this also happens to a second person is because this creates an antagonist for your character, who is an equal and balanced antagonist. This antagonist is now a threat to their life and everyone in it. This antagonist can and probably will ruin the protagonist's chance of ever getting a normal life back again, so now they have to stop them. The story has begun. The protagonist against an antagonist, both with a motivation and stakes. I've left room for you to fill in the blanks because writing is about being creative, but this is a solid story structure that you can follow if you want, that's very much proven to work, which you can follow and even change up a bit if you want. Pretty much from here on out, the rest of the story consists of the protagonists trying to get back to some sort of stable life. They'll be dealing with all of the problems that the antagonist throws their way, as well as any other obstacles that they encounter in their pursuit to get back to a stable and normal, comfortable life. It is up to you to decide what happens, whether they win or lose, and if they ever get a stable life back again, and what they have to do to get it. Will their life go back to normal? Or will it be completely different, but better, maybe, in every way? Act 3 is the final third of the story, which is when the protagonist finally gets a solid chance to regain stability in their life, and they go for it. They try to grab it. This is when the climax of the story happens, and then the outcome. So how do you write the outcome for a story? Check out my step-by-step tutorial of Act 3 to find out exactly how that story plays out. It's an old video of mine, it's a little less engaging, but it's packed full of information. You'll love it if you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe Webb, a storyteller. Learn to write fiction properly.